The courtroom had always been a place of order for Judge Alexander Hartman. His voice carried the weight of justice, his gavel marked the line between right and wrong, and his black robe was his shield, his armor against distraction, against temptation. For years, he believed nothing could rattle him. Nothing could slip through the cracks of discipline he had built around his life. Until her. Claire Whitmore. The moment she entered his courtroom as an attorney, something in him faltered. It wasn't just her intelligence that caught his attention, though she argued with a fire that commanded respect. It was her presence, the quiet intensity in her gaze, the way she carried herself with both grace and defiance, as if the world had tried to tame her but failed. He shouldn't have noticed. He told himself that over and over. Yet every time she stood before him, her words cutting sharp and precise, his chest tightened with a longing he could neither name nor suppress. He was the judge. She was the advocate. Boundaries could not be crossed. But boundaries, he was learning, grew thin under the weight of desire. It started small. A glance that lingered too long. The brush of fingers when she handed him a document. The faintest trace of her perfume, clinging to the air long after she had walked away. Each moment carved itself into his memory, echoing in the quiet of his chambers when he was alone. He tried to bury it. He told himself it was dangerous, foolish, impossible. Yet, when he saw her in the hallway after court one evening, her hair falling loose from its usual neat style, her lips curved in a half-smile as she said softly, "Good night, Your Honor," his resolve cracked. Something unspoken passed between them. A current, electric and undeniable. And from that night forward, every interaction became a battle he was losing. Their first secret meeting was not planned. The rain had driven most people off the streets, and yet he found himself standing beneath the awning of a quiet cafe downtown, waiting for the storm to ease. She appeared out of the downpour, clutching files against her chest, her coat soaked through. When she spotted him, her eyes widened, then softened. "Judge Hartman," she said breathlessly, pushing wet strands of hair from her face. "Claire," he answered before remembering he should not use her first name. "Not out here. Not anywhere." But the word lingered on his tongue, warm, forbidden, intoxicating. They shared a table inside, the storm raging beyond the windows. Conversation flowed easily, dangerously, weaving between laughter and silence heavy with things unsaid. When her hand brushed his across the table, he should have pulled away. Instead, he let it rest there, feeling the heat of her skin burn into his. A line had been crossed. From then on, they lived in shadows. Quick glances in the courtroom became coded messages, whispers neither jury nor clerk could interpret. Late-night texts turned into excuses to meet in quiet corners of the city where no one would recognize them. Every meeting was fire and restraint. Every touch was both a surrender and a risk. He would press her hand in the dim light of a stairwell, heart pounding as if the walls themselves might betray him. She would lean close, her breath ghosting against his ear as she whispered words she could never say aloud in the daylight. The thrill of secrecy made everything sharper. The brush of her fingertips against his jaw felt like a confession. The way she leaned into him, trembling with the same need he felt, left him dizzy. But with every stolen moment came the reminder, they were walking a line too thin to hold them. One evening, after a particularly long trial, she slipped into his chambers. The building was nearly empty, the echoes of footsteps fading into silence. She closed the door behind her, her chest rising and falling as if she had run from something, or toward something. "You know we can't keep doing this," she said, though her voice trembled with a contradiction. "I know," he whispered, yet his hand reached for her anyway. Her eyes glistened as she stepped closer. "But I can't stop." The kiss that followed was nothing like restraint. It was years of loneliness, months of silence, weeks of hunger poured into one moment. His hands framed her face, her body pressed against his, and for once he did not think about consequences. He thought only of her, the warmth of her lips, the way her fingers clung to his robe as though letting go would shatter them both. When they broke apart, breathless, the air between them felt heavy with both promise and dread. "Claire," he began, but words failed him. Her forehead rested against his, eyes closed. "If anyone finds out." "They won't," he interrupted, though the certainty in his voice was thin. Because the truth was, every moment they risked discovery. Every glance, every touch, every secret meeting was a step closer to ruin. Yet desire does not bend to logic. Love, if that was what this had become, did not obey rules. They kept meeting. They kept burning. And each time, it grew harder to return to the life of silence and restraint once the night ended. But secrets have a way of demanding payment. One morning, during a high-profile trial, Alexander caught a juror watching them too closely. The way Claire's eyes softened when she looked at him. The way he nearly slipped, addressing her by her first name in court. The realization struck him like ice. Someone might see through them. Someone might already know. That night, he told her they had to stop. The risk was too great. Her face crumbled, though she tried to hide it. "So that's it," she whispered. "We just pretend none of this ever happened." His chest ached with the weight of her words. He wanted to say yes, that was the only way. But when he looked at her, all the walls he had built came crashing down. "I can't pretend," he admitted hoarsely. "Not anymore." Tears glistened in her eyes as she reached for him. "Then we're both damned." Maybe they were. But as he kissed her again, as her arms wrapped around him like she would never let go, Alexander realized something. Damnation had never felt so much like salvation. For weeks, they lived in the space between fear and ecstasy. Every moment was a gamble, every embrace a secret that might one day unravel their lives. Yet neither could walk away. The bond between them had grown roots too deep, too tangled to sever. In the quiet hours of the night, when the world slept, he would lie awake with her beside him, wondering how long they could hold on before everything came crashing down. And though fear clawed at him, he always found his hand reaching for hers, needing the reminder that she was real, that their love was not just a dream. Because no matter the cost, no matter the danger, she was the one thing he could not give up. And in that truth lay both his ruin and his greatest longing.